Markets with David Modell.
Welcome to Looking at the Markets with David Modell. Today, my special guest is Mr. Tim Warman. Now, let me tell you about Mr. Tim Warman. He has 25 plus years in the metals and mining industry. Additionally, he is a director at Continental Gold and VP of Corporate Development at Aurelian Resources. And perhaps most importantly for today, he is the CEO at Fiore Gold. And just to let you know, for investors out there who might be interested in Fiore Gold, it is tradable in Canada on the CVE exchange. It is under the ticker symbol F, and on the OTC markets here in the United States, it is FIOGF. So, Mr. Tim Warman, welcome to Looking at the Markets.
Oh, thank you. Great to be here.
Yeah, it's really a pleasure to have you, and I can't wait to tap in to your knowledge about metals, mining, and the economy in general. Well, I'll tell you, this is a really exciting year for me, 2018. You know, China just said yes to credit expansion. We're talking about a middle-class buying spree, real estate megacities, possibly an infrastructure boom. Now, what does this mean for precious metals such as copper, zinc, silver, and so on?
Yeah, I mean, I think there's a number of interesting developments in China and in some of the BRICS, and just globally. I think that are really pushing up a demand for gold, providing greater access for people to invest in gold, and also, people I think are looking at things like overall geopolitical uncertainty, and gold, as always, is seen as a good hedge against uncertainty, a good hedge against risk. And I think we're starting to see that with some of the gold price moves over the past several weeks. I mean, gold had struggled for a while to break through that $1,300 barrier. It would hold it for a day or two and then fall back. But, we've really started to hold that and consolidate some of those gains. And I think going forward, as the demand for gold increases, you're going to see that gold price continue to climb through 2018. And the nice thing about gold is that it's very, very difficult to turn on the taps from a supply side. I mean, it takes a long time to get a gold mine into production. So when that price goes up, with demand going up, you just can't simply turn on the supply, and that continues to put upward pressure on the gold price. And I think we'll see that going forward.
Yeah, I can't imagine a better time to get involved in investing in precious metals, and that would certainly include gold. When we look at the United States economic situation with low unemployment, record high confidence levels, millennials hitting peak earnings and spending years, impending tax cuts, infrastructure renovations. Would you agree with me that inflation could hit us, at least in the United States, big time, and that could certainly help out any gold or other precious metal investment?
Yeah, I think, there's a lot of people around today that don't even remember what inflation is like. We've been in such a low inflation environment for so many years, but I think we're coming to the end of that period. And I think, as always, gold is one of those things whose value fundamentally can't be inflated away. It doesn't really matter what the price of gold is over the years and the centuries. It's, the story is it's always been able to buy you a good business suit. And that's true today, and that was true, 50 years ago. So it's really set itself up as a store of value that is very, very useful to hold in inflationary times.
Yeah, I totally agree. And there are a number of ways to get into the gold trade. And there also are a number of ways to get into the blockchain trade, which, I get questions every day, emails all the time about blockchain technology. How do I get involved? As well as precious metals questions. And I want to talk about Fiore Gold in particular, because I know that the Fiore Group is behind Hive Blockchain Tech, which is the most successful stock launch in Canada's history in the past 4 months. And so now you can diversify into gold and blockchain at the same time. Now, I know that you and your company went into the most prolific region, Nevada. So why Nevada?
Yeah, look, Nevada is the place to be in the U.S. for gold mining. Nevada as a state produces something like 80% of the U.S. gold production. It's very, very well endowed geologically. Two of the top 5 mines in the world are located in Nevada. And not just from a geological point of view, from a political, from a social, from an infrastructure point of view. You've got a population and a government that knows mining, that understands its contribution and its importance to the economy. You've got great infrastructure. I mean, you can drive off a paved highway for about 5 minutes to get to the front gate of our Pan mine, which is our producing asset.
Yeah.
You've got a trained workforce, all the equipment suppliers. I mean, everything you need is there.
Now, is this the best time to make acquisitions, and why would that be?
Yeah, so I mean, we see Nevada and some of the surrounding states as really ripe for consolidation in some of the smaller deposits. Fiore Gold right now, it's a fairly new company. We picked up some assets out of bankruptcy and turned one of the producing mines around. And we're producing something between 35 and 40,000 ounces of gold in 2018. But we don't want to stop there. That's really just our starting position. And there are a number of other small, relatively small, sort of 40 to 70,000 ounce a year producing gold assets, single asset companies that really don't make sense on their own as investment vehicles. They're not very interesting. But we think that there's a real play to be made there in bolting some of those assets together with good capital markets backing like we have at Fiore Gold and that background of the larger Fiore group. And once you can get your production beyond that kind of magic number of about 100,000 ounces per year, which is about a 3 or 4 times production growth for us, you're really seeing a re-rating in your share price and your market cap of about 8 to 12 times. So there's a real step change there as you cross that 100,000 ounce barrier. And we see that the way to get there is both through increasing production at our existing asset, getting some of our other earlier stage development assets into production, and consolidating by bolting on and acquiring some of these other assets in Nevada and the surrounding states to push us up over that 100,000 ounce. Our goal is to be a 150,000 ounce producer in the next 5 years.
Yeah, and if that's your goal, can you compare your market cap, the market cap of Fiore Gold, with other companies that are also producing similarly 150,000 ounces or so per year?
Yeah, exactly. So in our current market cap sits just under 100 million Canadian dollars. And if you look at companies that are producing in that kind of 100 to 160,000 ounce space, companies like Guyana Gold, like Rox Gold, like McEwen Mining, one of the favorites of a lot of investors, again, another Nevada producer. Those companies are typically trading anywhere from sort of 400 million to upwards of $1 billion market cap. So again, that's that step change I talked about. You increase your gold production about 3 or 4 times, but you get an 8 to 10 times increase in your market cap. And I think it's really a function of there's a sort of efficiency of scale as you start to get into that larger production. Obviously, you're spreading your corporate overheads over a larger production base, and you're getting a lot more flexibility, particularly if you're producing from more than one mine.
Sure. Now, what are your 2018 milestones for Fiore Gold?
Yeah, so, I mean, as I said, we're a relatively new company. Fiore Gold just came into existence in August, September of 2017. But we've now got our producing asset up and running and producing well and making money. This is the year when we're going to do a couple of things. We're going to increase production at our Pan mine, which is our producing mine. We think we can get that asset up to somewhere in the 50,000 ounce range. It's never going to be a huge mine, but it's a good mine, and we're always going to look back and say, that was our first mine. That's what we started building the company with. The other thing we're going to do is we're going to push our Gold Rock project, which is just next door, towards production. And Gold Rock has a really interesting advantage over a lot of other mining projects in the U.S. and elsewhere in that the permitting process, the federal permitting process for a full mine build at Gold Rock, which typically takes 5 to 7 or even more years to get through. That was started by one of our predecessor companies and has continued on, and we actually expect to get the full mine permit in early Q1 of 2018. And so we'll be in the kind of enviable position of having our permits in place ahead of actually finishing the engineering and the technical studies needed to go into production. So, I mean, we don't even have a preliminary economic assessment on that project yet. So we'll be doing a lot of work there in terms of drilling and engineering and metallurgical studies. And the idea that, that's going to be our next producing mine in terms of organic growth. And then finally, we're going to be executing on our consolidation strategy. There's a number of other companies out there, similar profile to us. We've been talking to them over the last few months. And I think that momentum is building to where we can pull the trigger on at least one deal to start to grow that production through some smart acquisitions. So that's really the kind of threefold goals we have for 2018.
Yeah, sounds like there's plenty of room for growth in this company. Now, what I want to know is how were you able to buy a $200 million property, an operating gold mine in Nevada, for $5 million, which would be a 97.5% discount? How did you pull that off?
Yeah, I mean, I think this really speaks to the strength of our technical team. You know, we've got a very good technical team headed by a guy named Ken Brunk, who's our chief operating officer. A lot of these guys are ex-Newmont, so very, very experienced miners, know Nevada really well. And they looked at our producing asset, the Pan mine, because it was part of a bankruptcy package. It had put the company that built the mine back in 2015, had gone into bankruptcy about 4 months after starting to pour gold at that mine. So they built the mine, spent something like $200 million exploring, doing the engineering studies, building this new mine, but ran into some problems early on as the mine was getting up and running, and it put them into bankruptcy. And, you know, Ken looked at this from a bankruptcy situation and said, you know what, it's not the asset that's the problem. It was the company structure and the team that was trying to get it into production. And the underlying asset is actually quite sound. And he's proven that. You know, they put a bid together, bought it out of bankruptcy for $5 million, which is an incredible discount, as you mentioned, and have really turned that mine around and taken what a lot of people said was a dog and turned it into a beautifully performing little mine. And it's producing cash. It's a profitable little mine, and really an excellent turnaround story. And we're going to take that kind of crack operating team that we put together, and we want to apply that to other properties and turn those and get those running efficiently as well.
Yeah, sounds to me like Fiore Gold as an investment would be both an excellent value play as well as a growth type of investment, because there's so much room for growth here. I'm really excited about this opportunity, and I'm glad I got to speak with you today. Mr. Tim Warman, once again, the CEO of Fiore Gold, for investors and traders as well. On the CVE in Canada, the ticker symbol is F. On the OTC markets in the United States, the ticker symbol is FIOGF. Now, if people wanted more information, I believe people can go to fioregold.com. Would that be correct?
That's correct. Fiore is FIORE gold.com. We have an Instagram feed, a Twitter feed, but it all starts at the website.
Gotcha. Fantastic. I love Twitter. What is your Twitter handle that people can go to?
I think, and I'm an old dog trying to learn new tricks, so I believe our Twitter feed is Fiore_gold.
All right, and I will put that on the screen as well, along with fioregold.com. That's the first place to go if people want to see the latest news and developments for Fiore Gold. All right, and if people want to contact somebody at Fiore Gold, they can also go to the website for that?
Yes.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I hope that people will check out fioregold.com. I hope they will consider Fiore Gold as an investment, not only in the precious metals space, but in the blockchain space, because once again, they are behind the Hive blockchain tech. A huge launch in Canada, very exciting. And, you know, I really appreciate all your time today. I hope to be able to catch up with you soon, just to see how things are developing, both with you and Fiore Gold. So, Mr. Tim Warman, thank you so much for spending some time with me today on Looking at the Markets.
Thanks for having me.